What is up guys, do not even try here. And today finally another build video. Today is gonna be building the Airfix 135th scale M10 Tank Destroyer, one of my personal favorite vehicles of all time, based on the Sherman. And overall pretty good kit, some fit issues. This is an Academy rebox, so for having already built the M36 from them, which their lower roll is basically the same. The kit overall is pretty good. So yeah, some fit issues. Detailing wise, it is really nice. You have a full interior, and yeah, overall I highly recommend it. And the best thing about this kit, it comes with some French markings. So I hope you'll enjoy this video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the build. I first start by building the wheels. If you decide to go for the French option, like I am doing, you'll see that the middle bogies don't have the same road wheels as the one in front and rear. So really pay attention to those small details. I then attach the idler wheel support and the front wheel support. Pay attention to put some decent amount of glue on these parts because the tracks are really heavily tensioned, and that can easily break off the mounts. I then start building the interior of the tank. Since the vehicle was open top, you absolutely need to do the full interior. So you first start by building the front transmission. Surprisingly, I thought that this part was going to be the worst fitting part of the kit, but overall it went together swimmingly. You then attach the transmission to the tank's floor. Pay attention to keep the transmission perfectly straight and to build from the ground up, so transmission sticks and everything first, and then put on the transmission so you don't have much trouble to overall put everything together. Again, this whole process went together swimmingly and without a single problem. Small remark, you have a small square hole on the lower hole that you need to fill up, which is completely omitted from the instructions. I remembered it from the M36 build, but you really need to put that square in. Either way, it will result in you having a huge square hole in the lower hole. I then attach the floor to the inside of the hole, and it creates some really nice details in it. I then start the assembly of the second floor. This was the part I was not looking for because remembering from the M36 build, this part did not fit quite well and had some warp to the floor. But I was surprised because right now it went perfectly without a single problem, and the floor sits perfectly straight. So I'm really surprised and in a good way. Pre-shading is pretty simple and a pretty effective way to create some contrast in your tank. You simply have to spray some black paint in all the cracks and it will create a fake shadow for the first real coat of paint. Here I am applying the entire paint. American vehicles, tanks, tank destroyer and everything were all painted white inside, so I paint the entire thing white and with extremely small layers to let the black paint underneath show through and really make some fake shadows and to have all the details really pop out easily without a wash. I am now building the exhaust. The M10 came into two versions, a diesel one and a petrol one. The one I am building currently is the diesel version that the French use and that was the most common. So Airfix only provides you with the diesel variant for this kit, but for the M36 you had the option of either diesel or petrol one. For those curious, the main difference and the best way to recognize diesel versus a petrol M10, you just have to look at the engine grill on top of the engine deck. The diesel one will have a much smaller grill, while the petrol one will be much bigger and cover up practically the entirety of the engine deck. These parts went together relatively easily, even though the exhaust cover-ish, something the curved part at least, did not sit flush with the rest of it, and the two engine walls did not fit perfectly either. They needed to be perfectly flush with the firewall, and I needed to put some bit of pressure for it to sit correctly. These are the hatch doors for the assistant driver and driver of the vehicle. Those parts really were the most fiddly bits to build on the entire kit. Also, small error in the instructions, the small handles that they ask you to put on the hatches are not the correct ones. You need to use, I believe it's the B42 part instead of the B9 or 10, something like that. I don't remember quite correctly, but keep in mind that the parts that they ask you to put on are not the good ones. I keep peeking to the painting instructions just to be 100% sure of what details to add on and what parts to add on to make the French vehicle. Be cautious while building those small details on the hull. The pieces are quite small and can be easily snapped out of your pinchers. I found while building those small round nubs on the hull that it was much easier to let a bit of plastic hang out and for it to be picked up by the pinchers and then placed on the vehicles, and once completely set it in with the glue, cut the excess. It's just much easier and avoids catapulting the small piece in the carpet monster. I then decided to take a small break from building and started painting the details inside of the vehicle. I first starting by painting the seats khaki drab. And then went on painting the radio box and other small black little details. I then start the chipping. I roughly mix some brown, black and red paint, and then dip a small torn piece of sponge in it, remove the excess, and basically apply the paint in random areas to create some chipping effect. We are now entering the part that I find the most frustrating with this kit, which is the ammo racks. Basically, the little nubs and tubes go together normally, but once it gets to fitting them into the racks, it's an absolute nightmare. Basically, nothing fits. So yeah, just pay extreme attention and try to close the gaps as much as possible. Once the ammo rack is done, I put some super glue onto the superstructure of the hole and close it. At this point, I only have to glue in the rest of the details that goes on the hole. And with that, the hole was complete. Then while watching PewDiePie's latest video, I started the build on the gun / the turret. Building the turret went without any real issues and went together really nicely. The seats were super fiddly, so I just ended up super gluing them to the infrastructure of the turret. Before joining the two parts of the turret, I decided to give them a shadow coat, since the inside will be painted later. And while I'm at it, I decided also to paint a shadow coat on the main hull. Now I am painting the light coat of the tank. This consists of painting some white highlight onto the black paint, and when the vehicle will be painted in the otherwise boring green, the white paint will create some color variation, making it much more interesting. Here I am painting the inside of the turret olive green. And as you can see, I really take my time not to do some heavy coats on the vehicle, so we can still see the white highlight outside of the green paint, which makes it much more interesting and gives a sort of sun faded look to the green paint. Really important tip while you airbrush, take your time, really do panel line by panel line, and it will give you a much better paint result. Just for this vehicle, it took me an hour to cover up the entire vehicle. So yeah, really take your time and the result will be great. Here I am painting the road wheels. Painting them black first makes them much easier to paint after. I just need to put this circle pattern, airbrush them, and it makes the job really quick and easy with a super nice finish without any overdrop. Here I am painting the details of the inside of the turret. One thing that is fun with military vehicles is that there is not much color, there's generally like 2 of them for the inside of the turret. So the job is really quick and easy. Here I am making some scratches on the gun mantlet with a brush and some gun metal paint. Painting the final details before assembling the turret. Here I am assembling the turret. The fit on the gun's breech was really tight, which avoided to drop. And overall the turret fitted really nicely without any major problems. Fitting the mantlet and gun barrel, however, was much harder, and I had to heavily trim down the stick that went into the breech. Here I am assembling the suspensions. The fit was pretty good and it went without any problem. Take note that I am not painting them directly. If you remember correctly, I painted the road wheels separately, so I will have to paint the suspensions and then disassemble them to reassemble the wheels on them. So those suspensions are not glued together. I am now putting the suspensions onto the vehicle. Here I am applying the markings. So what I do is dip the decal in warm water for about 12 seconds, give the model a coat of micro scale decal solution, and then once it's fully dried out, I give it a coat of micro sol.
The plan we have is so wrong. Are we still here, or are we gone? No one explains us a word. Will we be lost when we have won? Where do we go? Where are we from? What do we know? Is it alright? The time will show. Where do we go?
Here I am starting on the chipping. I first go for a light chipping of 6 drops of olive drab and 3 drops of white to make some not completely worn off but still a bit worn off olive drab paint. I now mix some brown and black paint until I have a nice color. Then with a brush I do some gunmetal chipping. And after some touch-ups and the final assembly of the final small parts, here's the final result. So overall, I'd say this was a pretty decent build. I will not recommend it to younger modelers who haven't really done anything modeling wise in their life. So yeah, because there's some really big fit issues, the tracks are absolutely unbearable, and I think that's a feature on basically every Academy kits. and yeah, there is some heavy fit issues pretty much everywhere on the kit. But overall, I enjoyed it. It gives you a pretty nice M10, and having those French markings is really a plus. I really wanted to make a French tank for a long time. So yeah, overall, a really enjoyable build, and for the more advanced modelers, I'd recommend it. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this long video, and I will see you next time.